What's going on, everybody? My name's Fazl Khan, and this is my final Let's Play video. And today we're going to be playing Sniper Team. And this is basically an arcade game in which you play as a sniper. You get to switch between characters, which makes it an interesting game because you get different views of what's going on. So before we play the game, I'm going to show you exactly how to play. And left click is to aim and fire. The spacebar is to zoom in and out. Q is to switch weapons. R is to reload. 1, 2, 3, and 4 are used to switch snipers. Escape and P are used to pause. And then M mutes the game on and off. X and the shift button zoom in and out. And the objective of this game is to defend your base by stopping waves of enemies. And these enemies come from any direction, and that's why your team has a sniper posted at each side. Basically, you're supposed to take out these enemies and clear entire waves. So on the loading screen, you can see the 4 different characters that you can play as, and they're numbered off as 1, 2, 3, and 4. So each level of the game has a different timeline. So there's the daytime, there's evening, and there's nighttime, and each one of these settings looks different from one another, even though it's the same map. And the easiest way to look around this game is to zoom in and out. This is our first kill already. So this game works the same way that any other elimination or survival game works, in which you have to clear different waves. Right now it's pretty easy, so it's not even going to feel like we're actually doing a real wave. Can't shoot him because that's us. And so this game is basically like, say you're playing like Call of Duty and you have to survive a certain amount of enemies on a wave. Except it's in the form of an arcade game. So now we're on wave 2. Now we're switching to our second player. If you notice, our second player actually has a different view from the first player. The first player wouldn't be able to see these enemies coming through. And switching back to the first player. If you notice that the base wasn't damaged even once, we get an extra bonus for that. This shows what kind of enemies we had to face, what kind of rewards we got, how much experience we earned. So now we're on day 2. It's the same map, but it's going to look a little different if you notice. I feel like this is one of the hardest modes to look through because you can't really see the enemies at all times. Sometimes you have to zoom in and look all around the place. If you notice, player 4 is highlighted, so whenever it highlights, it means that there's an enemy in their peripheral vision. So it's kind of easy because it shows you exactly which player you need to use. So we just went to 4 because none of the other 3 could see those enemies. Now we're 3, but we didn't switch in time. Then back to 1. So just a little bit of background about this game. Sniper Team was released in April 2013, so it's a relatively new game. During that time, though, it became pretty popular across the internet. It's one of the most popular games on addictinggames.com. It's had a relative success as it spawned one sequel less than a year from the release of the original, and today it's one of the most played games on addictinggames.com. The second one's a little bit different from the first one, but for the most part it's the same basic idea. Play as one player, but you have four different players to play from, so it seems like you're playing with a team, but you're actually not. And what's interesting about this game is it gives you a sense of multiplayer, even though it's a single player game. And it's not just a generic shooting game. It puts a little emphasis on teamwork. So if you notice the base health in the top left corner, that shows your overall health. All the enemies are able to basically cause you damage, and you have to survive each wave. So far, I don't even think we've lost any base health, but as we get farther on in the game, you'll notice it might get a little bit harder to stay alive. Sometimes the hardest part about the game, though, isn't just staying alive, it's actually just finding enemies to kill. And oftentimes you really just gotta wait. There we go. So when I'm playing this game, I could relate it to some of our course readings, such as James Paul Gee's article titled Semiotic Domains Is Playing Video Games a Waste of Time? And I find it really easy for myself to get sucked into games like this. Um, and then I always wonder, like, is it a waste of time or not? Like, am I really investing my time in something that's productive? And usually you're not, but from what this article argues is that when people learn to play video games, they are learning a new literacy, and that's very true in my opinion. And I don't understand why movies are considered a form of literacy when games aren't, when games actually require more from the interactor. And that also brings me to my next reading, which would be Cohen and Coert's article titled Look Up Exaggerated Damages of Social Media. And I believe that's very true. I believe that games are made out to be a lot worse than they really are, and that they're only detrimental if you let them be. And that oftentimes games are necessary, in order to unwind. So finally, the game's getting a little bit harder. If you notice, the base health actually finally went down. In my opinion, this is the most fun part of the game. Those guys over there cause the most damage. One more to go. And we made it.